Hello everybody, it's just JT here with my new Warden hybrid tank DPS build. With the help of my friend Cody from the Nugget Nation, we have been working on a build that will clear pretty much anything you want to do, whether it be trifectas, Bottershawn, Maelstrom, or help everybody else get through dungeons. Because with this build on test dummy, you can do 50 to 55k on the test dummy and anywhere between 22 and 30k in content. It is set up to be very self-sufficient for heals and survivability along with damage. Alright, so let's get into it first. Let me buff up. Okay. With the Warden passive, you're going to see that we have 35.5 in health, almost 29k in magicka, and enough for 2 roll dodges, basically, in the stamina. And we're sitting at spell damage of 4,800, spell crit 41%, which is low. I would like to have that higher, but for the build to work, it's just going to be that way. If you hit the test dummy, you're going to be right under 50k. On the test dummy, but in content you're going to be 45 probably, depending on what people are wearing. So anyways, let's get into first the champion points. Champion points in the warfare slottables, we are using fighting finesse, wrathful strikes, master at arms, and then the oh so lovely weapons expert for our light and heavy attacks. We will be doing that a lot. This is going to be a 1-bar build, so we will be using the Oaken Soul ring, which will give us empower, and along with weapons expert will make our heavy attacks hit very, very hard. With this build on the dummy, you can hit upwards of 109k on a heavy attack. We also, within the skills, we are utilizing the new changes to the Warden, being the biggest one right here, Piercing Cold. So now, with an ice staff, you will increase your damage by 12%. That is huge. You also have a higher chance of doing chilled, which is great for the group. We will be using 2 skills. We'll be using Winter's Revenge and Arctic Blast. Arctic Blast is going to be our heal. Winter's Revenge is our biggest damaging component outside of our shocks and heavies. And if you look here, you're going to do frost damage, and it increases if you have a destruction staff equipped, which we do. They also are slowed and have a higher chance of the chilled static effect, so that is also very handy. In the green balance tree, we are going to use Lotus Blossom. This is not a hot or heal over time, but it acts a lot like Crit Surge does for Sork. Basically, once you activate it, it lasts a minute, which that is really handy. When you causing light attacks to restore 1478 health, and your fully charged heavies, that's what you're going to be doing, restores 4400 health to you or a nearby enemy, ally, for 1 minute. We also, with this slotted, gain Major Prophecy and Savagery, which is not a big deal because Oaken Soul takes care of all that, but that's also a nice thing. Animal Companions, this got changed. Right now, you increase your critical damage for each animal companion slotted, so we're at 8%. That was a change this patch, which is really nice for us to be able to, in content, get close to the crit damage cap without having to run backstabber and fighting finesse. Alright, so now we've gone over the skills except for Wild Guardian. This is sort of a flex. It does really good damage, but you could replace this with a heal like Secluded Grove. You could put on Northern Storm. You could put Elemental Storm. There's a lot of different things. And if you find that your group is not very survivable, you can slot Barrier, run Barrier. Heck, get your entire team to run Barrier. But this is very survivable on its own without that. So right now we're going with the damage of the bear. But if you find that you have any issues, flex it out. The build really does depend on, one, your shocks, because of what they are going to give you outside of Pierce Armor, you really don't get. And that is major and minor breach on the enemy. That is huge to this build. The taunt for your tanking abilities is going to be in your destruction staff. It is going to be Destructive Clinch. Now this does some upfront damage, which is nice, but we're not using it as a spammable. We are using it with the Frost, so your Frost Clinch deals less damage, has increased range, immobilizes, maims, and taunts the enemy. There you are, taunts the enemy. So this is your taunt for your tank. So this is the only taunt you have, so you'll have to make sure you keep this up on any ads that you're doing. You don't have any chains or anything like that, so we are using the Arctic Blast also for its ability to stun enemies. So when you run into a group, you hit clinch on the big boys, drag them to everything else, pop this, and it stuns everybody, and your team can clear it up quickly. Alright, so now that we've gone over the CP, we've gone over the skills, we are now going to go over what we're eating, which is very, very cheap. We're just using right here Bunny Hash. It's going to give you max health and max magicka. You can run tri-stat food if you want. It's fine. This is just the cheapest thing you can get. For the extra stamina, you can definitely use a tri-stat food. Something, let's see, there is a couple different tri-stat foods that you can do, and I'm going to try to find them real quick, but if not, I will move on. So, Bewitched is not a tri-stat, but it will work. Artaeum will work if you have some issues with recovery. All of that works fine. And then, right here, Longfin Pastry. You get health, stamina, and magicka. All of those are fine. I just prefer the blue food. It's cheap and gives you really good max stats. Okay, now let's get into the build. Alright, first off, our main set is going to be Ancient Dragon Guard. Why Ancient Dragon Guard? Well, as a tank, it is very helpful for the fact that, one, you get a max health line. For the DPS side, we've got crit chance and weapon and spell damage. And then the fifth piece is why we're wearing it. So, when we are above 50% health, it is going to add 300 weapon and spell damage, which is great for helping with the DPS. But if you go under 50%, it adds 3460 physical and spell resistance. So, when we look at our character, let's hit this so we get our health up. When we look, we have spell resistance of 28 and 28. We have health of 35. All of that is good. But you got to remember, you get another 3,500 in your resistances if your health goes below 50%, pushing you well over 30k resists. That's why we're using it. It has a DPS component and a tank component. Alright, now, for the second set. This is sort of flex. You can do it two ways. First, it's Sergeant. Now, why I picked Sergeant is because, again, it has two tank lines, your max health and your health recovery. Then it has your DPS lines of weapon and spell damage, and then when you do heavy attacks, you gain an increase to your heavy attacks by 645 per heavy attack you hit. So basically, if you can hit it 4 times with a heavy attack, you max this out. And it's got the most increase to your heavy attacks of basically any set, but if you can't get those 4 stacks up, it is not as effective. 2 stacks is okay, 3 stacks is good, 4 stacks is great. So your flex option here is to use Noble Duelist. With it, you get stamina recovery, which that's not the greatest that we need, but it's alright. And then we have 2 weapon and spell lines. Then, when you deal damage with a light or heavy attack in melee range, so as a tank, you're going to usually be up in their face anyway, so this is fine. Now, it's not going to activate if you do a heavy attack on your way in, but once you heavy attack close range, you get 2110 to your light and heavy attack. So you can see it's less than Sergeant's for the heavy attack, but in content where you have to block a lot and you're not going to be able to maintain the Sergeant stacks, you have, I believe, 5 seconds to maintain your stack once you get it to 4. But if that's an issue, then Noble Duelist is the way to go. Now, there are other heavy attack builds, Infoul, but Oaken Soul gives us so much. Oaken Soul, with all of our minor and majors that we get, the biggest thing is Empower. Empower is going to increase our heavy attacks immensely. So between it and our CPs and our sets, like I said, you can get on a heavy attack 109k on this build. We also get Minor Aegis, which is going to help in mitigation. We get Minor Slayer, Heroism. It's just the way to go for this 1-bar build. Alright, so now we have our sets lined up. We know what our skills are, our champion points, our food. So now what we got to look at is the rotation and how we set up. Let me pull up the CMX for you so I can show you the layout of, let's load the fight. There we go. Okay, how we are going to do our equipment. This is the Noble Duelist right here. Basically, it's going to be the same within the Sergeants or the Noble Duelist. It doesn't really matter. We're going to go all Bloodthirsty with spell damage on our neck and ring. We are going to have 4 health on the Noble Duelist. You can go to only 3 on the excuse me, Sergeant's Mail, because Sergeant has a line of health in there if you want, or you can leave it how it is and you'll get 35.5. With this one, you're going to be a little bit lower. You're going to be around 33k health. But the idea is we're going to be running 3 reinforced, okay? All your big pieces, please. So head, head, chest, legs. All right, get out of that. So for this one, for the 35.5 health, I ended up basically changing it up a little bit, but you'll see on the big pieces, reinforced and health. Everything else is Magicka. Now here on the head, we can do a reinforced there if you're worried about it, but just have the 3 reinforced where you can, at least 2 big pieces. Okay. So we have health, health, magic on the small pieces, health on the big pieces. We also have Bloodthirsty spell damage all the way across. And then here on your staff, we're doing the ice staff, either the Noble Duelist or Sergeant. We're doing precise just to get our crit up for not only damage but for our heals. And then we're using a shock damage enchant. Now the reason is to set off balance as much as you can. You can put a crusher on this for the group, and it works great in content because you're going to be debuffing the boss, getting closer to pin cap. But if you're not using the shock, then use the crusher. The off balance, that's the only way you can really proc off balance. You can also use a fire. If you have somebody that is doing a lightning build or anything like that that has shock on them, you can go to fire, because that'll proc the burning status effect, increasing your damage. But for this, I'm just going to leave it as shock for the demonstration. You can flex this a little bit. Alright, now into the rotation. Basically, the entire rotation is shocks, Winter's Revenge, heavy attack. Okay, you use your clinch when you need to aggro something. So basically, you know, we go over here, we aggro him. Shock, Winter's Revenge, heavy, barrel ulti, you know, shocks again up. We're gonna hit clinch. Now you see at the top there, underneath where it says target skeleton, on the right, you will see a broken shield. That is how you know that you have Tauntaun. And what you do is, before that's out, make sure you reapply to anything that you are tanking. And that's it. This is it. 2 skill. Oh, and then you use your Arctic Blast as a heal when you need it. You re-aggro things, and that's really it. You can see right now on our own, we're doing upwards of 23 to 25k in DPS, which is not bad. So that's it. Now on the test dummy, I don't use the Arctic Blast just because I want to make it as easy as possible for you. But you get the idea. Just watch your timers. You don't want to cast your shocks too early because it wastes one of the pops of it. But there you go. Pretty easy. And again, you can see, doing 25k DPS. This is what you'd be doing in content with this. We'll go ahead and finish this up just to say we did. Alright, look, there we go. 25k DPS on a 3 mil with this build. So, I'm going to actually do a test with this right now. It's going to be 6 minutes long. Feel free to skip ahead if you want. But we will be doing the entire test just so you can see that it really does 50k DPS. Alright, so here we go. Activate my bear, Winter's Revenge, and then heavy, redo shocks, queue up winners, get aggro again, bear ulti, rinse, and repeat. You don't have to do the winter or the Arctic Blast. Just sort of have it sometimes. We're gonna get our bear going again. Get aggro. Rock winners up again. Maintain aggro again, like I was saying. And this is it, guys. We're out on aggro, so we gotta get that back. There we go. Shocks up. There we go. Winter's Revenge. Big bear attack. Get aggro again. Shocks. Winners. Aggro. Shocks. And our bear. We're just going along. Re-up winners when it's ready. There you go. Shocks. Aggro. Get a heal with the Arctic. And Arctic does a decent amount of damage on its own. Almost out of aggros. There we go. I do not blame you if you skip ahead. You see the final results. Yep, getting a little boring now, isn't it? Yep. Just holding heavies. Holding heavies and proccing these few skills when they come up. Get aggro. Bear. Winner's Revenge. One of the things about using the heavy attack build is you can queue up a skill while you're holding your heavy attack down. So you don't ever have to really let go of the heavy attacks. Which is good and bad, because you get a little sore after a while. Almost out of aggro. Planners. Shocks. Get some winds going. Shocks. Winner's Revenge. Aggro and bear. Getting closer to execute, so our bloodthirsty will start doing a little bit more work. Aggro, shocks, wins, re-up winners. Aggro, bear. And when deciding what you want, whether it be sergeants for more health or the duelist for ease of use, you can't go wrong with it. You'll do about 2k less damage with the duelist, maybe 3k less, which is not going to be enough to worry about. Coming into the home stretch. So if you've just rejoined us, about to finish this up. And there you go. 57,000 DPS as a tank. 35,000 health. You can see why we like this build so much. Alright. Well, in conclusion, I hope you enjoyed my DPS tank heavy attack 1-bar Warden, and I hope you enjoy playing it. Thanks very much for watching, and like and subscribe, and also please check me out on Twitch. I've started streaming a lot. I do some content and also some theory crafting, so please get over there and follow me so that you can watch the chaos. All right, goodbye.